Hello everyone. I welcome you to this video where we will be talking about the concept of other authorities in the text of Article 12. How have the courts interpreted the words other authorities within the definition of Article 12 makes an interesting study for us. And we will realize when we go on a case-to-case basis to look at the way the courts have interpreted these terms, we'll realize that we travel from a rather narrow conceptualization of a state to a very broad way of looking at it. So we broaden the horizons of the definition of state. We will also parallelly realize that the courts have traveled from a very structural way of looking at Article 12 to adopting a more functional approach towards understanding what other authorities in the text of Article 12 are. So our survey of decisional law in this area begins with the year 1954 in a case called University of Madras versus Shantabai. This was a case where a question arose before the High Court of Madras that is the University of Madras other authority under Article 12 of the Constitution? And in this case, in answering this question, what did the Madras High Court rule? It said that when you're interpreting these words other authorities, these words must be interpreted aegisdem generis. Aegisdem generis meaning you give a meaning to these words similar to the particular words that are in association with these general words. So what is the principle of interpretation of other authorities that the court adopted here? It said these words must be interpreted aegisdem generis. And based on this principle, the court said that the University of Madras is not state, it's not other authority, therefore not state under Article 12. This approach, however, was rejected eventually by the court in the Ujjambai case. And by having this kind of a narrow understanding of the words other authorities, what happened was we realized that citizens' point of view, when you look at it, you are actually limiting the scope of the number of bodies that can be brought within the umbrella of the word state. After the University of Madras versus Shantabai case, we look at yet another case, which is Rajasthan State Electricity Board versus Mohan Lal, which was a judgment given by the Supreme Court of India in the year 1967. Now, in this case, the question before the court was, is Rajasthan State Electricity Board a part of state under Article 12? In short, the question was, is RSEB included within other authorities in the text of Article 12? Now, in answering this question in RSEB versus Mohan Lal, what the Supreme Court of India did was, it evolved a twofold test for identifying what other authorities are. So in effect, the court laid down a twofold test, and it was trying to tell us that, look, eventually at any time, if the courts are confronted with a question whether a particular body or authority is other authority under Article 12 or not, you apply this twofold test and arrive at a conclusion. Now, what was this twofold test laid down in RSCB? Number one, the court said, ask yourself the question, is the body in question a statutory body? So is it a body that's created by statute? That was question number one. And question number two was, try and see whether this body has been empowered by statute to issue binding rules and regulations. And if answers to both these questions are in the positive, then that body will be other authority. And because it is other authority, it will be state under Article 12. So Rajasthan State Electricity Board gave us a more concrete twofold test as compared to the very general principle of aegisdem generis that was laid down in the Shantabai case. But if you somewhere go to look at the decisions of the court in both these cases, you will realize that there was somewhere a greater focus that was laid on structure of the body. So, when you ask yourself this question, that is this body a statutory body, you're basically looking at the structure of the body. Is it created by statute? Is it born out of a statute? Then it is state under Article 12. So the focus somewhere there was on structuralism, looking at structures of the body and then trying to identify whether it falls under state or not. So that's the approach we get to look at in both Shantabai as well as the Rajasthan State Electricity Board's case. Now with this, let me navigate this discussion to yet another very important case that we need to look at, which is the case of Sukhdev Singh versus Bhagat Ram, decided by the Supreme Court of India in the year 1975. Now in this case, what was in question was two corporations and one commission. So it was the LIC, the IFC and the ONGC which were before the court, and the question was whether these three corporations, or these two corporations and one commission to be more precise, whether they are a part of other authorities or not. Because these corporations had dismissed 3 employees working with them, and this dismissal, the employees, when they challenged the dismissal order, they said that this is contrary to their fundamental rights, violating their fundamental rights. And because it was a contention of violation of fundamental rights, the question arose, are these 3 bodies other authorities under Article 12 or not? Now, in this case, the majority arrived at the conclusion that yes, all these 3 bodies are other authorities and therefore they are state under Article 12. But what is interesting and important for us to note is that when the majority brought itself to this conclusion, they adopted the ratio that was laid down in Rajasthan State Electricity Board's case in order to arrive at this conclusion. So, they looked back into what the twofold test that the RSEB case had laid down, and they asked themselves these questions that, look, are these corporations statutory bodies? Yes, they are statutory bodies. Do they have the statutory power to issue binding rules and regulations? And the court concluded that yes, they do have such a power. And so the majority said that yes, all these 3 corporations are other authorities and therefore state under Article 12. But there was one judge on the bench, Justice Mathew, who delivered a concurring judgment. And what he said in his concurring judgment is of pivotal significance for us in order to understand how the jurisprudence of Article 12 has eventually developed after Sukhdev Singh. Now, what Justice Mathew said was, he also arrived at the same conclusion that the 3 corporations are other authorities, but the reasoning that the learned judge adopts is significantly different. Justice Mathew draws our attention now to the welfare state philosophy that is adopted after the commencement of the Constitution. He tells us that with the welfare state philosophy coming in, the functional space of the state has magnificently expanded. And therefore, the state, in order to discharge these multifarious functions, is taking different avatars and appearing before an individual. So sometimes the state is acting as a traditional government office or a government department, but sometimes it's also acting as a government company, as a corporation. So there are different ways in which the same government is interacting with a citizen, but taking a different avatar, wearing a different costume altogether. And that is why he says, given this fact, taking account of this expansion in the function of the state and expansion in the ways in which the state is functioning today, we need to take care of the fact that governmental power, wherever located, is subject to fundamental constitutional limitations. And therefore, Justice Mathew tells us that look, when we are conceptualizing state in this kind of a scenario, we need to have a more broader approach of looking at what constitutes state. And therefore he tells us, and to quote Justice Matthew's words, he says that don't just ask yourself the question how the body is born, but also ask yourself the question why the body is born. So has the body been created to perform those functions which are functions of a state in a welfare state philosophy? If they are public functions, then the body must be an agency and instrumentality of the state, and therefore other authority within the meaning of Article 12. Therefore, Justice Matthew somewhere sowed the seeds of adopting a functional approach of looking at what the state is. It takes you somewhere farther away from the mere structural approach that was adopted by the court hitherto, because before this the court was only trying to look at the structure of the institution and then try and find out whether it is state or not. But Justice Matthew in this judgment tells you that look, just don't look at the structures, but also try to look at what are the functions that the body performs. Is the body performing the function of the state in a welfare state? Then that body has to be an agency and instrumentality of the state. Now that was the broader approach that Justice Matthew introduces to us about the notion of state in his concurring judgment in Sukhdev Singh. Now somehow on the same day that Sukhdev Singh's judgment was delivered, on the very same day there was another judgment that was handed down by the Supreme Court of India, and that was in the case of Sabajit Tiwari versus India. Now in Sabajit Tiwari's case, the question was, is CSIR a part of state under Article 12 or not? And somehow a judgment that came on the same day as Sukhdev Singh was decided, you had again the court taking a rather structural approach, looking at the structure of CSIR and saying that look, because it's not a statutory body, it's not state under Article 12. But with what Justice Matthew laid down in Sukhdev Singh, that laid the foundations for the court to take a much broader approach in the subsequent cases. And that becomes evident for us when we look at R.D. Shetty versus International Airport Authority's case. So in R.D. Shetty, the question before the court was, is International Airport Authority a part of state under Article 12? Because International Airport Authorities had floated, it had invited tenders for running a snacks and a canteen bar at the international airport. And finally, they ended up accepting the tender of a party which did not completely fulfill the eligibility conditions that International Airport Authority had announced in its own advertisement. And when this matter was contested before the Supreme Court of India, the question arose, is International Airport Authority a part of state under Article 12 or not? And there the court categorically applied the agency and instrumentality test that was spoken about in the Sukhdev Singh case in order to arrive at a conclusion that International Airport Authority is an agency and instrumentality, and therefore it is state under Article 12. If one browses through the pages of the judgment in R.D. Shetty, one realizes that the court does take account of the welfare state philosophy and the massive expansion in the functions of the state. Remember the same points to which Justice Matthew had called for our attention in looking at the functional space that the state occupies. And by holding the International Airport Authority to be state under Article 12, the court somewhere brought about an expansion in the conceptualization of state. So the court is telling us here that look, these kind of bodies which are actually acting as agents of the central or the state governments, they must be subjected to the restrictions of fundamental rights. Their actions would be open to review before the court on the touchstone of fundamental rights. So somewhere, these kind of judgments started imposing the responsibility to act fairly on these kind of bodies that had massive interaction with the citizens or individuals of the country. So this is how we see that the court goes on adopting a broader approach towards looking at the idea of state under Article 12. Then, of course, after R.D. Shetty, another significant judgment that one needs to take note of is a judgment that came in the year 1981 in the famous case called Ajay Hasia versus Khalid Mujib. Now, this was a case in which the question before the Supreme Court was, in this case, there was a regional engineering college in question, which was a college that was established by a society registered under the Societies Registration Act. And the question was, is this regional engineering college state under Article 12? Now, why is Ajay Hasia's case really so important for us? The reason being that Ajay Hasia was probably the first case in which, though the body in question was a non-statutory body, yet the court applies the agency and instrumentality test to conclude that the regional engineering college, though non-statutory, is still state under Article 12. So what the court does in Ajay Hasia actually is, it introduces the corporate whale doctrine and supplies us with a kind of justification for the agency and instrumentality test that had been applied by the court before. Okay, so what's the court trying to tell us through this juristic wheel doctrine? The court tells us that whenever you're talking about corporate bodies, this juristic wheel of personality is something that is put on only for reasons of convenience of management, and that cannot be a reason that because of which you could bypass the actual de facto nature of the body in question. So if the body in question is factually the government, even if it acts as a corporation, even if it acts as a public company, that's only the veil of incorporation that it's wearing for reasons of convenience of managing the affairs of the body, but that cannot be a reason why such bodies can be allowed to bypass the requirements of fundamental rights. So that's why Ajay Hasia's case becomes very important for us, because it applied the agency and instrumentality test even to a non-statutory body for the very first time. For all the cases that have been discussed in this video before, we've been talking about bodies that were statutory bodies. So those were bodies which came easily under the structural formula that we spoke about. But here was a non-statutory body, yet looking at making a holistic analysis of this body in question, looking at the kind of functions that this body was performing, the court arrives at a conclusion that this is indeed an agency and instrumentality of the state. In fact, the court not only applies the agency and instrumentality test, but goes a step further in laying down certain important pointers for us to look at in order to arrive at conclusion of what other authorities mean. So for example, the court tells us, look at whether the state has a deep and pervasive control over the affairs of that particular body. Look at where the financial assistance to the body comes from. Does a substantial part of it come from the government? Then it is an agency and instrumentality. Look at who has administrative and managerial powers over the functioning of that body. Does that body enjoy a monopoly status that is conferred and recognized by the state? So these are kind of pointers that the court gives in Ajay Hasia in order to help us evaluate whether a body is state under Article 12 or not. Okay. Now, subsequent to Ajay Hasia, now you had, of course, a whole lot of cases that decided different bodies to be a part of state. So, for example, you look at Som Prakash versus India, that held that Bharat Petroleum is a part of state under Article 12. On the other hand, you had cases which told you that bodies like NCERT, for example, are not state under Article 12. So, you did have these kind of decisions coming in from the courts around this period. But with this, I think I must take you to the 2002 judgment of the Supreme Court of India in Pradeep Kumar Biswas versus Indian Institute of Chemical Biology. Now, this was a judgment delivered in the year 2002, and it is a constitutional bench decision of the court with 7 judges of the Supreme Court giving us the verdict in Pradeep Kumar Biswas. Once again, in Pradeep Kumar Biswas, the question before the court was, is CSIR a part of state under Article 12? Recall that was the same question that was decided in Sabajit Tiwari, where Sabajit Tiwari case told us that CSIR is not state. Now, in Pradeep Kumar Biswas, we had a 7 judges constitutional bench of the court that adverted its mind to this question. And on the question of other authorities or agencies and instrumentality of the state, the court in Pradeep Kumar Biswas adopts a 3-pronged approach. Now, what is this 3-pronged approach that it's giving us? It's telling us 3 parameters that one needs to look at in order to find out what other authorities are. And what are these 3 parameters? Functional, financial, and administrative control of the government. So, in terms of functions, are these functions of the government? In terms of finances, is financial assistance given by the government? And administrative, to see whether the government has a role in administrative control over the functioning of the body. If these 3 are fulfilled, then that body is state within the meaning of Article 12. So you see Pradeep Kumar Biswas case telling us about this 3-fold approach that we need to adopt today in looking at what constitutes state under Article 12. So you saw the same approach being applied by the court in the Zee Telefilms case, in which case the court told us that BCCI is not state under Article 12 because looking at the totality of its functioning, the court realizes that there's only regulatory control that is there. And merely because there's a regulatory control, that's not reason enough for that body to fall within the ambit of the word state. So I think if we look at this question today, Pradeep Kumar Biswas' case, it not only concretely overruled Sabajit Tiwari, but it gave us the 3-fold formula for understanding what other authorities are: functional, financial, and administrative control of the government. If these 3 are there, the body qualifies to be called as other authority and is therefore state within the meaning of Article 12. I hope through this video, I have been able to point out to you not just the shift from the narrow to the broad approach of looking at state, but also the shift in approach from the purely structural angle that the court adopted to trying to look at functions that the body performs. Now, with this broad approach that the court adopts today of looking at the definition of state under Article 12, what happens is, number 1, more number of bodies come within the ambit of the word state, and therefore more number of bodies are subject to the limiting force of fundamental rights. More number of bodies would now be subject to various tests of administrative law controls over their actions. And number 3, writs can be issued against this body in the exercise of writ jurisdiction of the Supreme Court under 32 and High Courts under Article 226 of the Constitution. Thank you very much for watching this video, and in the next part of this video, we will talk about whether judiciary is a part of state under Article 12. Thank you once again.
For more such informative topics on constitutional law, please like this video and subscribe our channel.